as I said, Nodeledge is focused on teaching people to code and other aspects of learning machine learning, like some of the maths behind machine learning. Apologies in advance if that's not your bag. But the principles on which Nodeledge is built on is really this idea of mastery learning and using knowledge graphs to empower mastery learning. If I was to try and say maybe the three things that I'm like doing here is mastery learning is the idea to make sure prerequisite knowledge is secure. Then we have the idea that like cognitive load has to be managed as a learner is encountering something new. Mastery learning like naturally helps with that because we can be sure via the knowledge graph that if we're teaching a new topic, people have met the prerequisite topics before. And so we just need to ensure then that we only introduce one small idea or concept at a time to manage cognitive load. And finally, we need lots and lots of like problem solving, active practice, right? We want to be giving students and learners dozens and dozens of exercises to make sure they get this like repetition, to get this fluency. It's very easy in learning to present a huge block of knowledge, like maybe a whole chapter, and then stick some exercises at the end. But if you looked at how much of the chapter do those exercises cover, probably very little, right? And we want to be making sure we actually get practice on all the sub skills that are going to mean we've got this foundation secure. Okay, so in Nodeledge, we can choose what's called a learning path. The one highlighted here is the essential Python for data science and machine learning. And if we look at what that looks like, we get this knowledge graph. This knowledge graph is made up of the nodes. Each node is a lesson in the platform, and the arrows model the prerequisite knowledge between them. The things that are highlighted in aqua or blue are things that have already been mastered. And so this is how mastery learning works in practice, right? We master lessons, we work up this skill tree, and doing so, we unlock future lessons once we've mastered the prerequisite knowledge. We can also take a diagnostic test. If we take a diagnostic test, we get a report which tells us how we did, splits it across all the different topics in the learning path, and that will pre-populate our knowledge graph for us. So like I said, we don't have to start at the very bottom if we already know something. We can sit a diagnostic test, we can get this knowledge fingerprint pre-populated for us, and then we can immediately start working at the edge of our knowledge. Okay, so if we come in to take a lesson, I'm just going to click on one that's already in progress. The main idea when we're taking lessons is to manage cognitive load and to get plenty of active practice. So in Nodeledge, a lesson is broken into what I call nodelets, or just like parts or subtopics, for example, that further scaffold the lesson to manage cognitive load. So if I clicked into a lesson here, we get this like interactive Python editor and some content on the left. And the kind of idea is that we want to follow is we want a minimal explanation of something and then straight into active practice, straight into problem solving. We also want a simple UI. We want minimal clutter. We don't want any distraction in the environment that's going to take up space in working memory. So we could obviously run some Python code here. This will give us an answer. We can choose the answer option, and then we can move on. And through this way, we get active practice interleaved with minimal explanation, minimal dose of content, and then plenty of active practice. Currently, there's over 1,500 questions, practice problems in Nodeledge across around 160 topics. And finally, we have all the content available for review at any point in time. There's also some cool stuff where we can, not here, we can have these nice, if you look at some math content, we can have nice interactive visualizations which help us build our conceptual understanding. There's dozens of these across the platform that help build our conceptual as well as procedural fluency with topics. So if you use this code, if people are interested in signing up for Nodeledge, if you enter the promo code, the journey node, then you'll get 20% off your first payment. So you can either go to Nodeledge.ai, enter this, or scan the QR code here. I think Tara will share the slides.